I think the overriding concern I have as a doctor about Brook House is how harmful to health and how harmful to mental health it is. Most of our clients have observed other people very distressed, very agitated, severe mental health problems, self-harm, suicide attempts. For me as a doctor, the only logical conclusion is it has to be phased out and stopped.
That's what a doctor told us about conditions inside one of the UK's most controversial immigration removal centres, Brook House, where people are held while they wait to find out whether they can stay in the UK. The Detention Centre, which is right next to Gatwick Airport, is run like a prison, except the people held there do not have a criminal sentence and are often not given a release date. Last year, a report found that one person had been held there for 1 year and 4 months. Dr. Rachel has been going inside the centre for the past 10 years.
So what was your first experience like going into Brook House?
Well, I was a doctor volunteering for medical justice, and I've been going to Brook House for a number of years now, but I think the really striking thing when you arrive at Brook House is that the experience is going into a prison, so the rolls of barbed wire and the high walls, and then you're taken down long corridors with heavy locking doors, and I have the feeling to this day, after many visits, of coming outside into the fresh air and the kind of relief afterwards at having been in that prison-like environment.
And when did you realise that there were some big problems or issues that were going on in places like Brook House?
It's been clear to me from the first assessment because even initially I was seeing people who had a history of torture, who had scars on their bodies, who had mental health symptoms resulting from having been in detention, having been tortured in the past, who were being detained and really traumatised again by having to be in an environment that reminded them of what had happened to them in the past.
You may not have heard about Brook House, but this is what a 2017 BBC investigation found.
From the start, I was confronted with drug abuse, self-harm and suicide attempts.
Were you trying to kill yourself?
No, he was just saying to me, I want to die, I want to die.
I saw some foreign criminals fresh out of prison, terrorising asylum seekers who'd never been inside.
This investigation prompted a public inquiry into the mistreatment of the people held there, and a report is expected later this year. But now we've spoken to people detained there who describe similar conditions.
We are not allowed to be like this because we are migrants, we are not prisoners. We have the right, same the people outside. Who is going to care for us? Who is going to look after us?
I'm here and I see people suffer here, you know. For me, it's not going to be a long time to stay anymore in this prison, you know. Because it's prison.
People currently being held at Brook House told us about the conditions there, which include extremely long detention times, staff threatening and placing people in isolation units, worrying levels of mental health problems and a lack of medical help.
I think the overriding concern I have as a doctor about Brook House is how harmful to health and how harmful to mental health it is. For a range of reasons, from experiences people have of force, from the point of being taken in, perhaps in handcuffs, being locked in a room overnight, and then being detained in that way for an indefinite period of time without knowing when it will end, and often very frightened of what will happen after that.
We contacted the Home Office, which is part of the government, about the conditions, and a spokesperson told us,
Do you think that this situation inside detention centres like Brook House is going to get better in the future?
This is not the first time that this type of scandal has happened, and it's not the only centre where it's happened, and it's not the first year in my experience where this has happened. In fact, it's something that repeatedly arises, and there hasn't been a meaningful change in response to any of the incidents in the past. So it's difficult for me to have any hope that there can be a change. And now, you know, with the illegal migration bill, the proposal is to vastly increase the number of people detained, higher numbers of people, more crowded conditions, even less attention to screening of people prior to detention, which already is grossly insufficient. will only contribute to these types of incidents. So unfortunately, we expect to see more.
Is it hard as a doctor going into these places, especially that you've been going in there for so many years, and seeing that the same issues keep coming up?
Yes, it is hard. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by supportive colleagues, and I take time for myself, and I enjoy my work meeting people and talking to people, so I have good chance to protect my emotions, but it is very hard and it can be upsetting. Yeah.